Thank you, Cindy. We're doing things a little differently today. I did a lot of thinking about the concepts of compassion and forgiveness. And so I had to go back to the Book of Joy. We all remember the Book of Joy. It's kind of become my most favorite reference these days. But I'm almost through it, so this might be the last Sunday you have to hear about the Book of Joy. Anyway, in the Book of Joy, I went to the chapter on forgiveness, and it is forgiveness, freeing ourselves from the past. We've been talking about that all month, and I really think we kind of get it by now. But there was something that I learned in going back here. We are hardwired for forgiveness and revenge. Yeah. One study of 60 different cultures around the world found that 95% had some form of blood revenge. Another study, the same cultures, found that 93% displayed some examples of forgiveness or reconciliation. And forgiveness may be such a common understanding among those people that the other 7% doesn't matter because they're just doing it. So, according to a primatologist, Franz de Waal, peacemaking activities are pretty common in the animal kingdom. Maybe we can learn something from it. So, chimps kiss and make up. And it seems that many other species do as well. Not only apes like us, but also sheep, goats, hyenas, and dolphins. Yeah, of the species that have been studied, only domestic cats fail to show behavior that reconciles relationships. Anybody who's ever lived with a cat understands that. So when we don't kiss and make up, we pay a huge price for unforgiveness. Unforgiveness leads to ongoing feelings of resentment, anger, hostility, and hatred that can be extremely destructive. Even short bursts of it can have significant physical effects. In one study, people were asked to think about someone who had hurt them, they'd been mistreated, or had offended them, and they monitored their heart rate, their facial muscles, and sweat glands. When people remembered their grudges, they had a stress response. Their blood pressure and heart rate went up, and they began to sweat. They felt sad, angry, intense, and less in control. When they were asked to empathize with their offenders, see them in another light, and imagine forgiving them, their stress responses returned to normal. Unforgiveness seems to compromise the immune system in a number of ways, including disrupting production of important hormones, the way that our cells fight infections. So we pay a price for unforgiveness. There is a story in the book about Anthony Ray Hinton. Anthony Ray Hinton spent 30 years in prison on death row for a crime he did not commit. After his release, he was interviewed on the TV program 60 Minutes. And when asked whether he was angry at those who had put him in jail, he said he had forgiven all of those people. And the interviewer said, "But they took 30 years of your life. How can you not be angry?" He said, if I'm angry and unforgiving, they will have taken the rest of my life. Yeah. So I think we get the importance and the value of forgiveness. And we have some tools to make it happen. What I really want to talk about today is, we have some tools to make it happen, and it is going to happen sometime that we're going to need to pull those tools out again because we're still human. So I really want to talk about compassion today and how we build a happier life and hopefully have less need for forgiveness. In the book of Joy, the other side of forgiveness is the chapter on compassion. Compassion, something we want to become. The Dalai Lama says compassion is actually a skill that can be cultivated. And it helps when we recognize our shared humanity. Well, compassion is all about connection. When we see suffering in another, we want to reach out and help. Some part of our own experience of suffering resonates with the suffering of the other. In her new book, Atlas of the Heart, Brene Brown defines compassion. Compassion is the daily practice of recognizing and accepting our shared humanity, Dalai Lama, so that we treat ourselves and others with loving kindness and we take action in the face of suffering. It's not just feeling, it's doing. So compassion is a relationship between equals. She says, only when we know our own darkness well can we be present to the darkness of others. Compassion becomes real when we recognize our shared humanity. And don't we feel that every time we see one of these tragedies on the news, all of the shootings and so forth? Doesn't your heart just open up and go right to that place of wanting to help those people? So compassion involves cooperation. It seems to be both contagious and reciprocal. If I help you today, you'll help me tomorrow. Helping another brings us joy. Archbishop Tutu commented, I know that each time I act compassionately, I have experienced joy in me that I find in no other place. This experience of that feel good that we get when we help somebody is called a helper's high. It releases endorphins in the brain, leading to a state of euphoria. The reward centers in the brain light up just as they do when we think about chocolate. Then there's that warm feeling that we get from helping others as the oxytocin is released in the brain. Remember oxytocin? The cuddle hormone. And guess what? There are health benefits. The oxytocin appears to help in the reduction of inflammation in the cardiovascular system. So compassion literally makes your heart healthy and happy. Both forgiveness and compassion are practices that connect us. And that's what humans are all about. We're about relationship. So where does connection happen? It happens right in the heart. To become a person of compassion, we have to have an open heart. And to me, that means developing our love faculty. As Paul said in the first letter to the Corinthians 13:1, we're all familiar with this. If I speak with tongues of men and angels, but do not have love, I've become a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and know all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith as to remove mountains, but do not have love, I'm nothing. The heart is the place the soul first makes its presence known. The place where we hear the still small voice. The heart is the place that we feel emotions. And in feeling emotions, we respond by either opening or closing the heart. If we want to be a heart-open person, we've got some work to do. In Michael Singer's Living Untethered, we've been studying this on Wednesday, our Wednesday morning book group for about a month or so now. So we're learning a lot about open heart, closed heart, and the witness concept. For me, it's all about honing self-awareness and being the objective observer of myself. It's like I have this little angel person that connects with my higher self that sits over here on my shoulder, and through that I can see how I behave in the world, and I don't have to judge it. It's not about judgment. It's about monitoring how I'm showing up. Am I showing up in alignment with my core values? Do you think about your core values?
Yes.
I do too. I do too. You remember doing this exercise either in Unity Basics or maybe Eye of the Storm? You had this sheet of paper and you named somebody that you really admired. And then you went back and you said, well, and you pick out like 3 traits of each one. This is the trait. This is what I really like about that. Oh, I really like that. And then we went back at the end and we picked out the ones that showed up the most. And what we learned from that is, what are my core values? How do I want to show up? Because if I see it in the other, it's because it's in me too. So in 2013, in July of 13, I did this exercise for some class or other. Oh, I know what it was. It was just before I finished my LUT training. So this is who I've come here to be as of 2013. Love, joy, steadfast, authentic, order, creative. I know this is true because I see this trait in others. Well, we have to reevaluate that from time to time. And so in July of 22, I'm still about integrity and authenticity and compassion. Compassion has become even more important to me. It always showed up on those traits every time I've done this little test. And equanimity, that's really become important to me now. Humor's important, and I'm really working on that one. So I digress, but core values is so important because it's by knowing who and what I want to be, how I want to show up. It gives me a landmark, a checking point that I can go back, and when I am in that witness place, I notice if I'm missing the mark. And I can take corrective action without having to beat myself up. Right now, I'm reading Pema Chodron's Living Beautifully. And she talks about the importance of knowing ourselves and learning what our triggers are that throw us off the mark. We are still 100% human. We will miss the mark sometimes. And that little emotion energy, it's going to hit us right in the heart. And we're going to want to react. And sometimes we might really miss the mark and react. Our amygdala has just been hijacked. The old reptilian brain has kicked in. We are ready to react. The old flight, fight, freeze, fawn response. And this is the choice point. Revenge or forgiveness, release. You can short circuit that response, and it only takes 90 seconds, 1.5 minutes, to identify an emotion, allow it to dissipate while you simply notice it, and it's a 3-step process. So that little target hits you right in the gut or the chest. The first thing is you identify you're having an emotional reaction. It's usually physical, chest, belly, or our thoughts just go awry. The second thing is, and I see this, recognizing I'm having an emotional event, is take a breath. Take a breath, and then mindfully observe without judgment. Just notice this is happening, and name the emotion. Put a label on it. MRI studies show that emotion labeling calms the brain region involved in angry outbursts and helps us regain control. And number 3, allow the feeling to come and go without judging it or trying to change it. Just notice it. According to an article published by Alison Stone, a PhD, this article is called 90 Seconds to Emotional Resilience. I like that. So this practice works because something happens in the external world that we are reacting to. Chemicals are flushed through your body that puts you on full alert. For those chemicals to totally flush out of the body takes less than 90 seconds. And this means that for 90 seconds, you can watch the process happen, you can feel it happening, and then you can watch it go away. After that, if you continue to feel fear and anger and so on, you need to look at your thoughts. Because guess what? You're thinking. You're the one who is re-stimulating that circuitry so that you keep having that reaction over and over and over until you change your mind, change your thoughts, and let it go. There's a story in the Joy book that it just so struck me. And I really want to share this because this is compassion. This is what compassion's about. This Dalai Lama is telling this story. It's about a friend who told him about being sent to a Chinese gulag at the time that the Dalai Lama escaped from Tibet. He says, "The night I fled from the palace, I went to a chapel to pay my respects, knowing that it likely was the last time I would ever see it again. My friend, who was already a senior monk at the monastery, was there at the chapel. Lopon Loch, as he is affectionately known by his fellow monks, did not know it was me because my visit was top secret, and I could not tell him. Then, as soon as I had left the palace, the Chinese bombardment started. They arrested many people, and about 130 were sent to a very remote area, like during Stalin's rule, when people were sent to Siberia. After 18 years of hard labor, Lupon Law was able to come to India. He told me what had happened to him during this time in the work camp. They had no shoes, even during very coldest of days. Sometimes it was so cold that when you spit, it would land as ice. They were always hungry. This one just, One day he was so hungry that he tried to eat the body of one of the other prisoners who died. But the flesh of the dead person was so frozen he couldn't bite it. That is just so horrible to me. Throughout the whole time, they tortured the prisoners. There's Soviet-style torture and Japanese-style torture and Chinese-style torture. And at this camp, they combined them all into an immensely cruel kind of torture. When he left the camp, only 20 people had survived. He told me that during those 18 years, he faced some real dangers. I thought, of course, he was talking about dangers to his life. He told me he was in danger of losing his compassion for his Chinese guards. So the greatest danger that this man had seen was the risk of losing his compassion, losing his heart, losing his humanity. Really brings it home, doesn't it? Yeah. So, in closing, and in unity, we often say, I want to be the best person I can be. Actually, when I was in my SEE classes before my LUT, and things changed, but during that time, at the end of the class, we were often told, go forth and be the best Christ you can be. So if we want to be that person, if we want to become more compassionate, we need to have an open heart. We need to be self-observant, self-aware. Be willing to take action. It might also help if we revisit Don Miguel Ruiz's 4 agreements. They're just so easy. Well, they sound easy. They're simple. They're simple. Maybe not so easy. So, be impeccable with your word. Stand in your truth. Don't take anything personally. Engage that witness and observe the situation objectively. Don't make assumptions, and you know the tagline for that. Always do your best based on honesty, integrity, mindfulness, and appreciation for others and yourself. Engage your 12 spiritual powers, and that pausing breath just might be your superpower. We're going to go into meditation now, and we'll do our gifts and tithes after meditation. So we're doing a little bit backwards. And today, we're going to let Julia Cameron guide us. So settle yourself. Let those shoulders drop after those sad stories. Just bring yourself back to this place and this time and be present in this moment with the awareness of the divine beingness that flows through you. And know the truth of these words. I honor my own integrity and the integrity of others. I am guided by love. I allow myself to feel the love that is guiding others. Like the earth, I enjoy seasons of renewal. I forgive shortcomings and failures, arrogance and short-sightedness. I allow such human foibles to be dissolved in the graceful flow of life ongoing. Life is a river which flows through me, washing me clean of judgment, cleansing me with the waters of compassion. I allow life to be both tender and clear. I choose the longer view of wisdom over the short-lived satisfaction of being right. I open my heart to receiving love and respect. I open my heart to many quarters. I allow my good to come from all directions, remembering that the universe is my source. I release individuals from any demand that they may be the source of my good. I allow the universe to support me as it chooses, not as I demand. I surrender my narrow vision to a broader and longer view of events. I trust that as I respect and honor myself and others, I will be treated in kind. I am guided by love. Rest in that. Know the truth of that. We are each love expressing one to the other, radiating the divine. So it is. So we choose it. Welcome back. Okay. Amen and amen. So it's time now for the blessing of our gifts and tithes. If you'll hold them in your hands, warm them up with that love that you are as we send it forth. And we're so very grateful for those who are joining us online, that they also are holding this, knowing this blessing as they push those give buttons. So let's affirm together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, that this is so.